Nick Kyrgios and Novak Djokovic are two of the best tennis players in the world. Unfortunately for their fans though, the two don't get along together. Well, at least not until now. Yup, they seem to be taking steps to mend their relationship and maybe even become fast friends. In this video, we'll be taking a look at Nick Kyrgios hinting at a collaboration with Novak Djokovic, so stay tuned. First off, Nick Kyrgios sends tennis fans into a frenzy with reveal. Nick Kyrgios and Novak Djokovic are an interesting pair, to say the least. The two are completely different people, and it shows in the way they talk about each other. But just recently, Nick made a move that can be considered to be the clearest sign that the two bitter rivals have finally decided to work over their differences. Of course, years of hostility can't just disappear due to a single post, but if this is successful, it's definitely a big step towards the right chapter. So now that Nick has hinted in an Instagram post on Tuesday that the two will be collaborating, all eyes are on the duo. After all, out of all the different tennis players most people expected to collaborate, these two were the most unlikely. For years, Kyrgios was a harsh critic of Djokovic, frequently accusing the Serbian superstar of trying too hard to win over people. They even had a spat about how the latter handled himself during the early months of the 2020 coronavirus outbreak. But since Djokovic was expelled from Australia ahead of the 2022 Australian Open, Kyrgios' stance toward the 20-time Grand Slam champion has softened. Few could have anticipated, though, that the newfound respect between Kyrgios and Djokovic would result in a doubles collaboration, but Kyrgios claims that is exactly what is in the works. If Djokovic is permitted to return to the United States, Kyrgios and Djokovic will play together at Indian Wells in 2023, he said in response to a fan's comment on their growing friendship. Let's take a look at Novak Djokovic's ban. Djokovic made a low-key return to Australia ahead of the Australian Open after his visa ban for trying to enter the country unvaccinated was overturned late last year. Before the Grand Slam that kicks off the season at Melbourne Park, he's scheduled to compete in the Adelaide International. That said, the Serbian is still prohibited from visiting the US because of his continuous reluctance to receive the COVID-19 vaccination. Last year's US Open, which was won by Daniil Medvedev, did not permit him entry. There were fewer media representatives and photographers at the airport than in the previous 2 years, which helped keep Djokovic's travel intentions largely under wraps. He apparently used a back exit to leave the airport while remaining hidden from view. The first punishment for this was a 3-year expulsion from the nation for the 9-time Australian Open winner. The current administration, however, decided to overturn that judgment and issue him a visa so that he might attend the 2023 edition. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, Australia no longer requires foreign visitors to present proof of vaccination, and the nation is returning to normal. It implies that Djokovic won't have to deal with the media hysteria that greeted his entrance in January when he arrives in the nation this time around. Coming up, Craig Tiley speaks about Novak's return. Now, Nick started to compliment Novak after they played against each other in the Wimbledon final last year. The Serbian won in an exciting 4-6, 6-3, 6-4, 7-6, 3 match, which probably led to his opponent having a newfound respect for him. And so, after a fan made a comment about their bromance and how it was mowed on, he responded with a post claiming that the two will be playing together in Indian Wells. Though of course, that'll only happen if Novak is allowed to enter the United States. What's more, the head of Tennis Australia, Craig Tiley, expressed hope for the enthusiastic support from Australian supporters of Djokovic. He told reporters that the Australian fans welcomed him back, and he believed that the tennis player would get a great reception from everyone in the country. Now, for Nick increases pressure with another post. With his most recent Instagram post, Nick Kyrgios increased the pressure on Novak Djokovic to participate in a doubles tournament. The Australian raised the possibility of cooperation earlier this week at the Indian Wells Open, and his most recent statements has kept the 35-year-old in the public eye. Over the course of their careers, Kyrgios and Djokovic have not always shared the same opinions, but things are changing now. As if inviting him to play doubles with him wasn't enough to send fans into a frenzy, he made sure to increase the pressure even more with a new post saying, "New doubles this year, loading, at Joker Knoll, you ready?" with a photo of the two entering the Wimbledon final. Djokovic's response was a string of strong arm emojis, suggesting that he's more than happy to cooperate and just as excited as Nick for the day to come. Given that there's still some uncertainty as to whether Djokovic will be able to compete at Indian Wells, Kyrgios' post implies that other tournaments may be on the horizon for the potential doubles pairing. The competition will be held next March, and until then, fans can't do anything but hold their breath and hope that Novak will be allowed to compete. Still, if by any chance this doesn't happen, there will be more opportunities to see the stars in action together. Finally, how the fans reacted to the news. Fans were extremely excited at the prospect of the two best tennis players teaming up for doubles in the United States. One Twitter user expressed his enthusiasm, urging them to do it. Another user said that Nick had a new bromance, as well as respect for Novak ever since he lost to him at Wimbledon. What's more, one user said that the idea was absolutely lit, and that the best server and the best returner would both be on the same team. Not to mention, this might just be the only doubles team that would be able to convince him to watch doubles. One more fan said that it was brilliant news, and that it'll be a lot of fun. Someone on social media also joked about how this news made them officially a couple. Upon hearing the news, one fan gave his own 2 cents about Nick, saying that he might be a rebel with a bit of a temper, but his kindness comes through when it counts. Moving on, Nick opens up about the Australian Open without Djokovic. First up, Nick Kyrgios says that the Australian Open would mean less without Novak. Nick Kyrgios is of the opinion that the Australian Open will be less popular with fans without Novak Djokovic. Now, Novak was allowed to enter Australia again after his visa ban was lifted, but the future is uncertain after he was injured. Nick, however, thinks that the tournament will be much better if Novak is on the field. If you didn't know, Novak was given permission to participate in the Australian Open after the 21-time Grand Slam winner wasn't able to play in 2022 because he refused to get vaccinated for COVID-19. It caused a huge controversy when Serbia was deported, and his visa was cancelled in the public interest. This caused him to miss the tournament, which was won by Rafael Nadal in the end. Despite this, the federal government has overturned his visa ban and allowed him back into the country, and Nick thinks this decision is good for tennis. While speaking at the World Tennis League in Dubai, Nick talked about how he believes that Novak must participate in the Open no matter what. He described him as the greatest of all time, and said that as long as he was playing and hanging around, they needed him to take part in all these tournaments. Next up, according to Nick, a tournament without Novak wasn't really a tournament. What's more, Nick said that he wished to see him there as his opponent. He said that if he won a tournament but didn't have to compete against Novak for his victory, then it wasn't a real tournament. Nick wasn't able to have a Wimbledon final rematch in Dubai after Novak didn't participate in their World Tennis League match. He mentioned that he was obviously looking forward to playing against Novak after everything that happened with the Wimbledon final, and that he just wanted to go out into the field and have some fun with him. Despite his wishes to compete with Novak, Nick agreed that he had to take care of his body since he has some action-packed months coming up, with fans expecting a lot from him. He added that it wasn't surprising that he wasn't in his best condition and unable to get out and play in the tournament. Lastly, Nick says that mixed doubles are enjoyable because they're for the fans. People have been concerned about Novak's health ever since he was visibly unsteady on his feet during his Paris Masters run. The world #1 will most probably take a safe approach for the upcoming season. It's expected that Novak will take full part in the Australian Open season after Adelaide. Not to mention, the World Tennis League released a statement that Novak wouldn't be taking part in the WTL event that night because he wasn't feeling 100% well enough to play. Now, Nick is 1 week away from the start of his competitive season. He's been excited to take part in the tournament sanctioned by the ATP and the WTA, the United Cup Mixed Team Tournament. While talking about the event, Nick said that he no longer plays as many mixed doubles, but what he loved about mixed doubles is that they're for the fans, and that was the most important thing. He also described the doubles, saying that it was certainly entertaining to watch some of the best female players in the world play with the male players, and how the male players let the female players do their thing on the court without getting in the way. Nick then concluded that it was enjoyable to watch. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think about Nick Kyrgios and Novak Djokovic's new friendship? Are you excited to watch them play together? Let us know in the comments section below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.